Let's check out the rack, the progress.
Yeah. Well, I'm still working on it. I do have, I guess, a little bit of hardware here, but it's just the keystones. So I've got keystones for Ethernet and keystones for HDMI on a 3D
That's pretty
printed
cool.
half U. Actually, it's like 1.25U panel for this 10-inch server rack.
I
And
like
then,
that.
like I mentioned before, I have a space for my Netgear switch. Yeah. And it matches the model, so it should be fine. And then what I really wanted to talk about was like this right here. This
Did
is,
you print that?
yeah, and it's actually kind of big. And I was having some issues with printing at the time, but because it uses like 300 grams,
That's
I
a
don't
lot
want to
of
redo it.
filament.
Yeah, so it'll hold together well enough. I just think
Once
it's a
it's in the
little
rack,
flimsy
right?
right there. Yeah,
It'll be fine.
once the 5.25 inch pieces are here, and I'm gonna 3D print some more adapters to bring that down to 3.5, and maybe some 2.25. But what is interesting is I took the STL for this 3-unit
Drive bay,
and
right?
yeah, 3-unit 5.25 inch drive bay made for a 10-inch rack, and I split it into 3 portions and took off the sidewalls because it wouldn't fit on my printer. Took off the sidewalls here, the mounting portions, and then added mounting holes onto the centerpiece and the 2 side pieces. And it has worked really well to get this way too large for me to print piece into this rack. And then, like I said, I'm gonna print the adapters for 3.5 inch drives to fit in here, and then there's also another adapter for that I'm going to add to those 3.5 inches for 2.5 inch, or for the 2.5 inch laptop drives to hold 2 of them. So at most, I'll be able to get 6 drives in here, and that'll be all 2.5s with a crap ton of adapters, just because, nerd. Um, and then I'm thinking about pulling the power supply off of my DAS and somehow probably removing one of these lower shelves and mounting it down there at the bottom. And then in front of that, I also want to put my Raspberry Pis. I have a 2B that I can grab, and I have a 3B that I can grab, and probably a couple of zeros, and then mount them towards the bottom, and that will start occupying the Cat 6s that I'm not using.
So for those that just listen to the podcast, you guys really need to find us on YouTube and Peertube and check out this rack because it's awesome.
Yeah,
There's a lot of filament when I do this.
oh yeah, a lot of filament.
Really nice looking.
And like this one blue shelf here, when everything else is red and black, is actually PET G, because that's where I'm planning on putting a small form factor mini PC, which will be a Portainer instance essentially. I'll probably put Ubuntu or Mint or whatever on there. I don't really care. It can be headless for all I care. And so Proxmox should even work if I really wanted. But it'll be running Portainer, and then that'll have my DNS sinkhole, Pi-hole in a Docker image, and probably an instance of I'm going to set up Ubuntu with Chasm VPN, and
you'll like it.
Have that. Well, I've already tested it out with their Chasm Web.
Yeah.
And I like that, but it's kind of immutable. And I understand the reason why, because if you're able to install more applications, then they're just going to get wiped out. But I want to do a volume that's shared to the local storage, and then just fill it with app images and run the app images from there.
That's a good idea.
And that should allow me to run my Joplin from there if I want to, or an instance of Nextcloud if I want to, with Nextcloud GUI. Well, I guess I wouldn't need the Nextcloud GUI, so I should be able to just do the Docker image of Nextcloud, and that'd be fine. But yeah, and having a dedicated computer to remote into.
So do you have it
Is a
already,
good
or are you
thing.
going to get it? Or?
Well, I'm thinking about ordering one right now. There's one on eBay for about $45. An HP, what is it, 600 G3 Mini that has a USB-C port in the front.
Oh, nice.
And I'm thinking about getting that or something similar. And that's what this bracket is for. But Moss from over on the Mintcast was going to send me was talking about potentially sending me one of his small form factor computers. And don't know if I want to wait for that or just order my own mini PC, because I'll find a use for both. Seriously. So maybe I'll just order it and slide it in here. And they're almost the same size, but I don't think this bracket will fit on that, so I would have to 3D print something else. And I think I saw one that had 2 brackets that you could use. One that mounts in the front, one that mounts in the back, and then the whole thing slides in. That would probably work well even if it was PLA. Yeah, I'm getting there, and even if I don't like custom print another shelf for the Raspberry Pis, this has these ventilation holes, and I should be able to rig up something to hold the Raspberry Pis in a case in place. And if it's like zip ties or something, I don't care. But
that thing looks nice.
Yeah, it's looking good so far. I'm really enjoying, figuring stuff out and going into Tinkercad and making the prints work for me.